Every one of us has to be good at promotions and PR now. Luckily, I used to own a PR agency, so I'm trained in it. But for the vast majority of us, I mean, come on, that's serious skill and years of training and everything else that's involved with that. And what's happening in publishing right now is it used to be that if you wrote a really good book and you were an unknown author, they would buy it on the merits of the quality of the book, assign you to a member of the publicity team, and the two of you would develop your platform together during the 6 to 9 months or so between contract signing and publish date. Then it got to be where in book proposals in the last 10 years, we had to write what we were going to do to help get this book ready to publish, where we'd be willing to go, cities, what other kind of supplemental PR we could do, regional media, TV, whatever. Now they say, what have you already done? And that's a hard one to answer when you're submitting 2 sample chapters in a proposal and you haven't even written a book yet. You're hoping to get an advance-based deal so that you're going to get a check and then that'll make it worth finishing the book. So that involves websites, blogs, Facebook or Twitter, things like that, mainly that combo of 3, social media, website, blog. Here's where the journaling comes into play when it comes to platforming, and nobody really talks about this, but I do because it's a great way to take all this work you've done and all the journaling you've done relative to your subject and put it out there in a way that draws audience to you and sells your book. Using the journal, taking notes in your journal, like the process of writing your book or some of the journaling things you did to set up your book, if you put it on a blog or on your website as an article, what I would do is I'd go to my journal. I wouldn't just go to my head. And I just write, because I did keep a journal, I entered that in my journal. Maybe in the memoir, 20 words get in, 2 or 3 sentences. But what I would do is on my blog, I would write all about it. And now all of a sudden, my future audience has backstory. Readers love to know how you came up with things. The journal is the greatest place in the world to store that information and then turn around and throw it on a blog. Because as you're going through the process of trying to sell your book, and then between the time you sold your book and then you publish it, you're going to continue to feed this stuff out because you want to build audience, and it's going to be great information for your readers. They're going to love seeing backstories and stuff. As you're building your platforms and getting all this material out, use material from your journals, which is yet another reason to be very diligent journalers when you're working on a project, because that's the kind of stuff that readers they love, and you're going to build an audience that way. And then when you do that, when you do a blog, you just put it out on Facebook, put in the first sentence or 2, keep your Twitter's I think 160 characters, Facebook's 420. Well, don't go to 420 on your Facebook. Go to just make it quick, and then link it to your blog, and then watch what happens. It'll take a little bit to get going, but once you start building your audience, you're going to get more people doing that. Then when the acquisition editor is trying to decide whether to buy or not, the very first thing they're going to do when they see your cover letter is go to the links that you put in it, which is another difference. You have to put the links in a cover letter now, not on page 22 of a proposal. They're going to go to those links and see what's going on. They're not only going to see if you have, they're not only going to see if you've got something up, they're going to see when you've posted most recently. And and they can't really tell what your audience is except for, say, Facebook friends, but they can see, they can just see what you're doing to help promote your book, and that's really important. And that's where the journal certainly comes in handy, because it's all hopefully in one place. I have a poem called Paths on a Face, which is the poem when I do readings, people always want me to read it. And one of my Facebook friends is Michael Shreve, who is the original drummer for Santana. And anyway, so I'm in Tucson in March teaching and running around from Starbucks to Starbucks, trying to find wireless before I got one of those little Verizon things that you stick in. And I just opened up my computer, and all of a sudden I see 150 messages on my Facebook, and I'm going, what is happening? And someone spammed me, or someone's some virus or something. And I opened it up, and he posted the first stanza on his wall, and he has 4,500 Facebook friends. And he posted that, and then there's all these comments afterwards, various comments, And I mean, I sold 75 books in the next 3 days because of that, just that little thing. And I had no clue, you know, I just was going, why, who spammed me? And, but see, that's what happens. If you put it out there, you don't know who's reading. A great example was the keynote speaker at the last Southern California Writers Conference, David Matheson. He wrote this book, which is a Bible for any of us who are in digital media and digital publishing and digital marketing, which we all need to be in to some degree. It's called Be the Media. Well, David wrote this book, self-published it, and he was pretty much going, he didn't know what he was going to do because he was a VP of technology at Reuters. He gets a call from a very prominent woman, and I can't remember her name, and he gets a call and he says, I want you to talk, she says, I want you to talk at my gathering of businesswomen in 20 minutes, and he's in Midtown, Manhattan. And he goes, I can't, I'm busy. And she goes, no, you don't understand. This is going to be worth it to you if you show up. Well, he had tweeted something about his book, and she had read the tweet. So he goes to this thing, he talks, they give him 15, 20 minutes, and then he goes away and he's going, why did I do that? Because nothing happened. Well, 3 days later, she calls him up from the Bahamas and she says, I need all your wiring information, your bank account numbers and stuff. And he's going, what for? I don't know you. And she goes, well, I'm buying 15,000 copies of the book to send around to my foundation. And so he ended up with a $500,000 order because of one person reading one tweet.
Wow.
And so for those of us who think I'll wait on my platform, first of all, you can't. And secondly, don't put up what you need, what you feel compelled to put up, because you don't know who's watching. The beauty of it is you don't know who's watching and you don't know what's going to happen.